There is a lot to sort of piece together here, but the bottom line is there was definitely an issue with altitude. You're listening to the live press conference there, the NTSB, talking about what the investigative agency has been able to determine so far from the recovery of these black boxes. I want to bring in both Sam Sweeney and John Nance, our aviation experts here. So guys, where should we start? I mean, Sam, it started with the night vision goggles. There were questions about whether that had impacted what the pilots actually had visuals on because of ambient light and how that can impact night vision goggles. But then, as we were listening to more of the details, it looks like it has also come down to possibly bad data for pressure altitude. There were a lot of questions on, was the helicopter flying too high? Should it have been lower? And now it looks like they're still trying to figure out if the Black Hawk was even getting the right numbers as it was coming in on approach. And then also this mic key that happened. The Black Hawk was trying to communicate with the air traffic controller, and possibly something very important, a collision warning maybe was missed at that time. So Sam, I'll start with you. It's a lot to sort of unpack, but what did you take away from that? And then John, I'll take it to you.
Well, exactly what John was saying earlier when we spoke, there's going to be a number of contributing factors for this crash. And as you just laid out so many of them, the takeaways right now, they still don't know how high that helicopter was. And they are going through the data. And it is possible that the helicopter pilots were seeing the wrong data. Their computers were giving them the wrong data because they were using, frankly, an instrument that is outdated. And they were coming down the river. They had been descending as they should have been. And the one pilot was calling out to the other pilot their altitude. And at one point in between the conversation between the two pilots, one pilot thought they were at 200 feet. The other pilot thought they were at 300 feet. But they didn't discuss amongst themselves in those seconds before the crash why they had that discrepancy. And that's what investigators are going to be looking at. We just heard the NTSB chair say they're going to look at how this system was installed. Was it functioning properly? And they're going to continue to dig through that data in the weeks and the months to come.
John Nance, that would just be heartbreaking if this all happened because of an outdated data system in that Black Hawk helicopter.
Well, we've got a number of outdated systems and methodologies that are going to be a part of this accident. And you can see, anybody watching this and listening to what Sam was saying and what you were saying can understand, I think, to a greater extent now how detailed this is. You know, the old phrase, the devil is in the details. Well, it certainly is. And it's not for the purpose of finding out who to blame. That's also very important. NTSB doesn't care about that, and we shouldn't either. It should be, what are all the elements that contributed to this? We've got altitude, possibility that the altitude is being wrongly displayed. We have a radio call that didn't get through. We have night vision goggles that probably obscured a lot of what they should have been seen, and we have these unfortunate vectors with an aircraft with the right wing up and a helicopter who is going to have great difficulty seeing that, even though they think they've spotted the right one. So all of these details, this is why it takes a year or so to put out a report that is really useful. But again, it doesn't have anything to do with blame. It has to do with how in the world did all these things come together.
Right. And of course, looking into the future and how to prevent it from ever happening again. So, John, let me ask you one question, since we were talking about the fact that this helicopter might not have been presenting the proper altitude numbers. Also, the collision avoidance system that apparently was going off, and we've even heard that in the recording there in air traffic control. But it sounds like it's possible that air traffic control heard it, saw the collision avoidance system sounding the alarm, but that the Black Hawk crew didn't have anything in the Black Hawk that was giving them the same warning. Did I understand that correctly?
I think you did. Now, I don't know the actual answer to whether or not the TCAS was installed and on in the helicopter or not. I don't believe it was. By the same token, that when you are in a situation within a mile of the runway, you're configured, you're coming in, and all of a sudden you hear traffic, traffic, that is a very chilling thing because you've got to suddenly break away all your concentration and try to figure out why is this corking off? Why is this giving me a bit of information? And that was only a couple of seconds before the collision. So there are a lot of things here that, when practically applied, in other words, real people, not just the assumption that a pilot can do A, B, and C, but what's really going to happen in a situation like this is going to be confusion and there's going to be a delay. And I think it's very important to understand that this indication that there was a 9-degree pull-up and all the way to the maximum by the RJ crew indicates there was a possibility that they saw each other, or at least that the RJ saw the helicopter at the last second, but it was too late by then.
The helicopter didn't even attempt an evasive maneuver. Still a lot of questions, but we are finding out, sadly, some of the details that led to this deadly crash. Sam Sweeney, John Nance, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.